The Treaty of Versailles, unraveling the aftermath of World War I. The Treaty of Versailles, signed on June 28, 1919, marked the official end of World War I. It was one of the most significant and controversial peace treaties in history, as it not only imposed punitive terms on Germany but also attempted to reshape the post-war world order. This essay explores the Treaty of Versailles in depth, examining its historical context, key provisions, the impact on Germany and the world, and the debate surrounding its legacy. The historical context. 1. World War I and its aftermath. World War I, often referred to as the Great War, was a global conflict that lasted from 1914 to 1918. It involved many of the world's major powers, and by its conclusion, millions of lives had been lost, economies had been shattered, and empires had crumbled. The war left a trail of devastation in its wake, and the victorious Allied powers faced the daunting task of rebuilding Europe and establishing a lasting peace. 2. The Paris Peace Conference. In the aftermath of World War I, the Allied powers convened the Paris Peace Conference in January 1919 to negotiate the terms of peace treaties with the Central Powers, including Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. The Treaty of Versailles was the most notable of these treaties, as it dealt with Germany, the primary aggressor in the conflict. Key provisions of the Treaty of Versailles. 1. Territorial changes. The Treaty of Versailles imposed significant territorial losses on Germany. Key provisions included the return of Alsace-Lorraine to France, the transfer of the Saar Basin to the control of the League of Nations with the intention of eventual return to Germany, the loss of territory to Belgium, Denmark, and Poland, the cession of territory in Eastern Europe, leading to the creation of new nations like Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia. 2. Military restrictions. The treaty imposed strict military limitations on Germany, aimed at preventing future aggression. These restrictions included a reduction in the size of the German army to 100,000 troops, the prohibition of conscription, the demilitarization of the Rhineland, the dismantling of the German Navy, with strict limits on the construction of new ships, the banning of an air force and the limitation of the German army's arsenal. 3. War Guilt Clause. Perhaps one of the most controversial aspects of the treaty was Article 231, which placed full responsibility for the war on Germany and its allies. This article, often referred to as the War Guilt Clause, laid the groundwork for imposing reparations on Germany. 4. Reparations. Germany was required to pay reparations to the Allied powers for the damage caused during the war. The exact amount was not determined until 1921 but eventually amounted to a staggering 132 billion gold marks. The reparations were a heavy burden on the already struggling German economy. 5. League of Nations. The Treaty of Versailles established the League of Nations, an international organization aimed at promoting peace and cooperation among nations. The League's creation was intended to prevent future conflicts through diplomacy and collective security. 1. Economic devastation. The economic impact of the Treaty of Versailles on Germany was severe. The country was burdened with enormous reparations payments, and its economy was in shambles. Hyperinflation in the early 1920s rendered the German mark virtually worthless, leading to widespread economic hardship and social unrest. 2. Political turmoil. The treaty's provisions and the War Guilt Clause fueled intense resentment and anger in Germany. The political fallout was significant, contributing to the rise of extremist political movements, particularly the Nazi Party under Adolf Hitler. The Weimar Republic, Germany's democratic government, faced numerous challenges and instability, ultimately collapsing in 1933. 3. National humiliation. Many Germans viewed the Treaty of Versailles as a national humiliation. The perception of being unfairly treated by the victorious powers left a deep scar on the German psyche and contributed to a desire for revenge and a revision of the treaty's terms. 4. Long-term consequences. The treaty's economic and political impact reverberated throughout the 20th century. The economic instability and widespread suffering in Germany provided fertile ground for extremist ideologies, leading to the outbreak of World War II. The legacy of the Treaty of Versailles is often cited as a contributing factor to the rise of totalitarian regimes and the subsequent global conflict. The debate surrounding the treaty's legacy. 1. Was the treaty too harsh? One of the enduring debates surrounding the Treaty of Versailles is whether its terms were excessively punitive. Critics argue that the treaty's harsh provisions, especially the heavy reparations and war guilt clause, created a sense of injustice that fueled German resentment and aggression. They contend that a more lenient approach could have prevented the rise of Adolf Hitler and the subsequent World War. 2. The Carthaginian Peace debate. Some historians liken the Treaty of Versailles to a Carthaginian peace, a reference to the harsh terms imposed by Rome on Carthage after the Third Punic War, which effectively destroyed the city-state. This comparison suggests that the treaty's punitive nature contributed to long-term instability in Europe. 3. The realpolitik perspective. From a realpolitik perspective, the treaty can be seen as a pragmatic response to a defeated and potentially resurgent Germany. The Allied powers, particularly France, sought to ensure that Germany would not pose a military threat in the future. From this viewpoint, the treaty's provisions were a necessary safeguard against aggression. 4. Lessons for future diplomacy. The Treaty of Versailles serves as a cautionary tale in the realm of diplomacy. It highlights the challenges of negotiating peace in the aftermath of a devastating conflict and the importance of striking a balance between justice and stability. The treaty's legacy influenced subsequent efforts to establish international organizations like the United Nations, which aimed to prevent future conflicts through diplomacy and cooperation. The Treaty of Versailles remains one of the most contentious and debated peace treaties in history. Its provisions, intended to bring about a lasting peace after World War I, had profound and far-reaching consequences. While it imposed punitive measures on Germany and contributed to economic and political turmoil, it also served as a lesson in the delicate balance of power, justice, and diplomacy in the aftermath of a global conflict. The treaty's legacy underscores the enduring impact of decisions made in the aftermath of war, shaping the course of the 20th century and beyond.